What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. And we have some really interesting news in regards to Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and really just the entire MCU moving forward. There has been some recent information that has come to light by a very reputable author for Vanity Fair and also the author of a new MCU book coming out. And some new information has come out that stated that Kang the Conqueror was not originally Marvel Studios' plan as the big bad in the MCU. Originally, Kang the Conqueror was not going to be really the focus of the Multiverse Saga. And now that Jonathan Majors has been arrested and is in some trouble, Marvel Studios is in a bit of a pickle right now. It's a very hard situation on deciding whether or not to recast Jonathan Majors, but now it sounds like the option of simply moving away from the character in general is on the table. Originally, we thought, hey, they can just recast and continue on with Kang, but apparently Marvel Studios had a lot riding on Jonathan Majors himself. So with Jonathan Majors getting into trouble recently, that's really interfering with Marvel Studios' plan. And this author recently came out and spoke about all of this. So let's go ahead and dive into everything that she recently said. And quick reminder, we are on Patreon now. We do also have an official website and a Discord server if you want to join that as well. We'll link all of those in the comment and the description down below. So this new information about the MCU is coming from author and journalist Joanna Robinson. She wrote the book MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, and that is coming out on October 10th of this year. She's also a very reputable senior writer for Vanity Fair. And recently she was on The Ringer's The Big Picture podcast, where she opens up on everything that she has heard about Marvel Studios and their plans for Phase 4, Phase 5, and Phase 6 of the MCU and how they were originally not centered around Kang. This is what she said. I was told by someone who works for Marvel it was not the plan to make Kang the center of everything until they saw the dailies from Quantumania and after his performance in Loki, which was so strong, they were like, this is it. This is our way forward. We've lost our varsity hero team, but let's set up around this guy Kang and this performer that so many people are reacting to. And what's interesting is that she goes on to say that she believes that Marvel has never hung so much of a franchise on one particular actor, not even Iron Man. She goes on to say, I don't think you or I are very interested in saying what Marvel should or shouldn't do going forward. But we know this is a huge problem for them that they are facing and grappling with right now. And what's unprecedented in this for Marvel is, I would argue they have never hung so much of a franchise on one actor as they tried to hang it on Jonathan Majors after his Loki performance and his Ant-Man Quantumania performance. I would argue more than Downey as Iron Man, more than Brolin as Thanos, that hanging everything on this guy is then going to pop up in all of their properties leading up to something called the Kang Dynasty, has put them in a very unusual position. They don't usually hang so much on one person in the way that they did here. And then when speaking about the big problem that they are having right now because of putting basically all of their faith into one character and now Jonathan Majors getting into some trouble, she said, and that has put them in the bind. We do not know what they're going to do. I've heard conflicting stories about they're going to replace him. They're not even considering replacing him, etc., but it's just one more thing. Now, this is incredibly interesting for a few different reasons. One is, yes, that is true. Marvel Studios has never really put all their eggs into one basket or one actor or one performance or character, and that seems to be what they're doing now with Kang. Unfortunately, the problem with doing that is if something happens like this, you're kind of screwed. They kind of put everything revolving around the Multiverse Saga into Jonathan Majors as Kang, and now that he's in some trouble, they are in a pretty big bind. But it is interesting as well to know that kind of going into Phase 4, they maybe didn't have everything that mapped out yet. If they got into Phase 4 and then into Phase 5's filming where they saw Jonathan Majors in Loki and then in Quantumania and decided, wow, this is it, that means that they either didn't have a clear picture of what they wanted to do for the Multiverse Saga, or they did have some sort of a picture and villain plan, but they simply pushed that aside and decided to make Jonathan Majors as Kang the main big bad villain. And knowing Marvel Studios, they did have somewhat of a plan. Kevin Feige has even said that even what you see has already been mapped out. For example, we already have Phase 5 and some of Phase 6. He says that they have planned 5 to 6 years past those movies. Now, they can plan the movies, but maybe not have all the connectivity planned out yet, which seems to be kind of what they did here. They had a general outline, but didn't have it all kind of planned out. And here's where it gets complicated, but also kind of interesting. We've heard a lot around Jonathan Majors, and based off of what Disney has done so far, removing his name and even the mention of Kang the Conqueror from pretty much all of their promos is very interesting, and it does point to the fact that they are in a bind here, they're in a pickle, it's hard for them, and they may have to recast Kang. And there's now kind of two options here. One is to simply recast him, get another actor to take his place, and everything remains the same as far as the Multiverse Saga goes, or they could kind of push his character to the side. Originally, there was some sort of a Multiverse Saga blueprint that existed where Kang the Conqueror was not the main focus. And it is totally possible for Marvel Studios to kind of revert back to that. We are not that deep into the Multiverse Saga yet. Only 2 movies into Phase 5, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 doesn't really affect any of the connected story of the Multiverse Saga anyways. So we're not too far into it to bring in another villain. We could still conclude a Kang story, but Marvel Studios could take a different direction than having Kang be the ultimate big bad villain. There are other characters out there that could play a huge role in Secret Wars, Doctor Doom being one of them. And I think that if they had to replace Kang as a villain, Doctor Doom would actually be kind of a perfect fit because he is big enough and loved enough by Marvel fans that they wouldn't be too, let's say, pissed off that they changed the Kang story. Now, I for one am hoping that they simply, if they have to, recast him. In a perfect world, Jonathan Majors stays as Kang. The court finds him innocent, Disney decides to keep him on, everything proceeds as scheduled. But if they had to get rid of Jonathan Majors, I think the route to go down is to simply recast, not to sideline the character. Sadly, it is a possibility. They could simply kind of tie up his story sooner rather than later and not go into Secret Wars with him. The only problem there would be the Kang Dynasty. The next Avengers film is literally called the Kang Dynasty. It has Kang in the name. That's going to be a hard one to sidestep from. Sure, Marvel Studios could come out and simply say, hey, you guys have heard what happened for that reason. Avengers, the next one is going to be about something else. However, that's a very hard route to go down, and I don't believe Marvel Studios will do that. I believe that if something happens, they'll recast Kang the Conqueror, and then they will complete the Kang Dynasty. What they do from there could be completely different. Kang might not be so involved in Secret Wars. They could bring in somebody else to be a main villain, and they could start introducing that villain in Phase 5 to build him up more than Kang. So right now, Marvel Studios and Disney are faced with a pretty huge dilemma on what exactly to do with the MCU. Do they revert back to their old original plan before they decided to make Kang the focus of the Multiverse Saga? Or do they simply recast the character and hope that another actor they bring in can do just as good of a job as Jonathan Majors did? Obviously, his performance was so great and impactful to them that they went, wow, this is who we need to center everything around. And I agree, every performance that we've seen of Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains or Kang has been phenomenal. It's a very unfortunate situation, but let's hope that Disney and Marvel Studios handle it the right way. And in the meantime, let us know your thoughts below on what you think Marvel Studios should actually do. What would you be happy with? A recast of Kang, Jonathan Majors remaining as Kang, or maybe Marvel Studios moving on to have another villain be the main villain of the Multiverse Saga? Let us know all of your thoughts down below. Also, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment so you can enter our giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. The winner gets to pick one item, and we pick a winner at the end of each month. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.